Jackie the Joke Man.
Yo,
Hey, Jackie, it's Eugene. How are you?
who the hell is this?
Eugene Driscoll, valleyindy.org, to talk to you about your appearance at Treehouse Comedy Productions in Seymour, Connecticut.
What are you talking about? Who is this?
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding, TV sucking ideas from our head, public discourse just about dead, we'll ride the dinosaurs.
Hey, I'm Eugene Driscoll. Welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indie Podcast. Yes, today my guest is Jackie the Joke Man Martling, former head writer for The Howard Stern Show. Jackie will be appearing Saturday, March 2nd at the Strand Theater in Seymour, Connecticut as part of the Treehouse Comedy Series. Tickets are $25. If you want to buy tickets or you seek more info, please go to treehousecomedy.com. You could also call the Treehouse box office at 203-230-8700. The Strand Theater is at 165 Main Street in Seymour. Artie Lang was there at the end of January, which was awesome. He got a standing ovation. He killed. It was an inspirational show given the recent track history, but unfortunately, right after the show, Artie wound back up in rehab. So, Seymour, please don't do that to Jackie. He's been sober a long time. So I know this episode is going to get a lot of outside the valley interest, obviously. So I'm going to shut up and just play the interview as quickly as possible. But just so you get an idea of what this is a podcast that's part of valleyindy.org. That's a local nonprofit newspaper serving Connecticut's lower Naugatuck Valley. I know when people hear Connecticut, they think, where Baba Booey lives, that part of Connecticut, like the Greenwich, Westport. No, we're not that part of Connecticut. We're like the real Connecticut. So that's just some context to this. Also, oh boy, this is a big deal. I have to give the Jackie plugs because he was really generous with his time, and I was super nervous to do this interview. For endless jokes, say, Alexa, play Jackie Martling, or type Jackie Martling into Pandora or Spotify. I just tried this on Pandora. Make sure you don't have any explicit filters set. Follow Jackie on Twitter at Jackie Martling. He does jokes every day at 4:20 p.m. International Marijuana Time. And he also has a dirty joke line that's been going for 40 years. I should probably say this podcast is family friendly usually, but this one's probably a PG-13. Use your finger dial 516-922-WINE for all show information and everything Jackie, including details on how to order his book. Came out about a year ago, Jackie Martling, Bow to Stern. Go to jokeland.com.
How the hell are you? Nice to talk. Thanks for I am so confused with this. I'm 1,000 years old. You know how many times I've been to stupid L.A.? And, I've been lying here awake since 4 o'clock in the morning. I used to know how to do this,
I feel for you. Yeah, you're a workhorse, Jackie. I mean,
I'm not. Please. I got driven to the airport and I took a plane. I'm just so stupid that I slept on the plane, which is the wrong thing to do, So I'm an idiot. I couldn't read because the moron next to me didn't have his light on and had the window closed and whatever. So I'm raring to go, man. And I'm out here doing a great project. I guess I'm not a workhorse. Because I still to this day feel guilty. I swear to God, back when I was playing in bands, and I remember, I'd go to pick somebody up and they'd say, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to work," and I'd be like, "You're not going to work. We're going to play music. That's not, I mean, it is work like crazy, but it always felt funny saying we're going to work. So, listen, you could tell I've had 19 cups of coffee and haven't spoken to another human.
What are you doing out there?
I haven't spoken to another human since I got here.
Well,
now you're stuck.
I'm nervous as heck because, I mean, I'm 45 years old. I grew up on the Stern Show. I had older brothers who introduced me to the Stern Show back when he was on WNBC. It's the greatest, biggest radio show in the history of mankind. So I'm nervous as hell. So all your emails even made me more nervous. I'm like, oh my God, if I screw up the joke, man.
Nervous? You don't mean nervous to talk to me.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're out of your mind. Listen, there's nobody easier on the planet. I'm out here doing. There's a kid. I can't stand that I refer to 40-year-old people as kids. I went to pick up chicken wings for the Oscars the other night. I went to my sister's at a local place, and I walked in. They were like, "Whoa, Jackie the Joke Man." Somebody says, "Yeah, he just pops in around here, just like Billy Joel." And I'm like, "What are you doing? Putting me in that league?" And I got my wings and took a bunch of pictures. And on my way out, I said, you kids have a good night. And then I said, I can't believe that I'm referring to you 40 and 50-year-old guys as kids. But they are compared to me. And it just hit me. It was so funny,
Yeah, but you're in better shape. You're in better shape than any of us. I went back and watched some of the old Channel 9 shows, which I watched when they were first on. But you had a beer gut back there, which I can relate to. Now you're like Jack LaLanne.
I look so much better now than I did when I quit the show. It's not, people can't believe it.
Yeah, when did you get in?
Are you Jackie's son?
When did you get into the fitness and all that? I mean, obviously you're living.
No, I was always, it's really funny because I was a high school gymnast and I ran track and I was on the soccer team. And I never gained an ounce the whole 70s because I was always sweating from playing rock and roll and being crazy. And I had a beer belly, And it was funny on the Stern Show because whenever we all lost weight, I all of a sudden would have the body of a gymnast, and Gary and Howard were built like a pear. And when they lost weight, they just looked like smaller pears. That was so funny.
I took some questions.
You're on your way up? Are you on your way up?
I'm
a comedian or a radio guy? Or what are you?
No. I'm a local journalist. I've been a reporter for 20 years, and I run a nonprofit news site. We're funded through reader donations and foundations, and I do a podcast as well. So I do a little bit of everything.
It sure sounds like you better not be putting kids through college with that crap.
I got a third grader upstairs right now with the flu. That's what my life is. I'm recording this in my basement. So if you hear like a dog barking,
you gotta send me your street address, and I'll send you the funniest kids CDs in the world. I know that doesn't sound right.
Right,
but
from Jackie.
Your kids will go crazy. They'll go crazy.
Let me ask you, Jackie, about... I took a couple of questions from Stern Show fans.
Plug the show. It's very important because I always forget that. And I'm working with Brad Axelrod, who is so cheap that when he walks, you can hear the squeak all the way out there in L.A. So we got to get some people in there. I've been working for Brad since 1979, and I love it. Since the old Westport Comedy Club and, the Treehouse Comedy Club at the Westport Inn. It was... I just love. And it's so many people from Connecticut are emailing me and texting me, whoa, you're finally coming to Connecticut. You're finally coming because I haven't been there in so long.
Yeah.
So we might even be sold out already. I'm really hoping.
I'm sure it will be. That's like you're the next town up. You're going to be appearing Saturday at the Strand Theater in Seymour. And I'll attach an entire plug at the beginning of this podcast. People will have already heard. But I saw Artie there a couple of weeks ago. You're following up on Artie, who also came there as part of Brad's Treehouse Comedy Productions, and he killed.
Good. I heard he did great.
He was great.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too. He was really. I mean, I was rooting for him. It was a great show. It's a great place to see comedy. It's so exciting that live comedy by guys like Jackie the Joke Man and Artie are coming to the Naugatuck Valley, because we have to. I mean, Westport that's a whole other world. That's Gary Baba Booey land. But I gotta ask you.
I gotta tell you, I am so thrilled because I'm not. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm celebrating my 40th year as a headline stand-up since 1979, which is a long time, Eugene. It's a long time. And I was hot crap for a little while. I was never the biggest comedian in the world, but due to my affiliation with the Stern Show, I was making a lot of money, and I've been killing audiences forever. And then I left the show, which was like my accountant said it was like doing a 9/11 on my bank account. That's what he said. But now, I don't know, my record company guy got it in, and now if you tell that, you know what Alexa is, that little gadget. If you tell Alexa to play Jackie Martling, or if you put it in Spotify, or you put it in the Pandora, it plays my jokes for hours. But, if you go on Alexa and you say, play Van Morrison, it'll play Van Morrison, but then it'll sprinkle in James Taylor and John Prine.
Right.
If you say play Jackie Martling, they sprinkle in Chris Rock, Rodney Dangerfield, Dice. It puts me in this great stratosphere, and it's a great thing. And I'm getting a whole new legion of fans that love this guy that tells the dirty jokes, and they backfill the fact that, he was on the Howard Stern show, which is so good for my head, but it's so good for my audiences. I just had 2 sold-out, packed shows down at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club in Point Pleasant. That's Point Pleasant Beach in the middle of the winter, and you couldn't move in the place. And so I got a whole new life, which is just, it's so fun. So I do all these podcasts and radio shows, and I do all the promotion. I go on a lot of guys, like I'm on Q104 and Mark Simone and John Fugelsang and David Feldman, and I call in, and people say, why don't you do your own podcast? And I'm like, I love calling in. It's so much fun because it's something different every time. I don't know you. I don't know you from Adam, but, I love when somebody says, yeah, I've been a fan a long time, and so if it's fun for you, it's really fun for me.
At this point, I think you're almost considered alt comedy because you tell jokes. You get up there and you do dirty jokes. You do rapid fire jokes. You're the joke man. But it seems like this trend in comedy, it's got to be like confessional. You got to get your own podcast and talk about your life, and you have to be quote unquote honest. What do you think of that?
Right, which is all great except for one thing. They get everything right except for one thing.
What's that?
They forget to be funny. Our job is, number one, I tell people my first job is to make people laugh. If you're a comedian, there's 2 things you don't do. The guiding lines of any comedy when you're starting, they say you don't tell old jokes and you don't laugh at yourself. And that's all I do.
I was going to say,
I break both rules and don't do anything else. But the bottom line is you come to my show and you laugh your ass off for an hour. You walk out. You're not any smarter. You're not any hipper. You just left the planet for an hour and laughed and relaxed and had the time of your life, which with the passage of time, that is now that is it's at such a premium because we just don't have that,
Yeah, it's dark times.
I just want to laugh and and I'm rude to everybody and everything, not the people in the crowd, but, whether little people or Jewish people, but I hit everybody, but I don't hurt them. I pounce on them for a second, and then it's off to the next guy, So the midgets in the audience are laughing at the Jews, and the Jews are laughing at the blacks.
Oh, okay, great. Now I'm going to get pulled off. There goes all my money for from the foundations, Jackie. Let me ask you about the Channel 9 show, though. Can I ask you a couple of Stern-related questions, all respectful? I don't want to...
anything you want.
All right,
I hope I don't get you thrown off the air. Hey, people, send your money, and this is not you. Anything I say has got nothing to do with your friend Eugene. He's a good guy.
And none of my questions. I interviewed you once before, last May. You actually were incredibly gracious. It was for charity. It was this 36-hour fundraiser for various local charities here. But my questions, I went back and I read them, and I was basically trying to get you to bash Stern because everybody was doing that at the time, and I think it kind of turned you off.
I don't do that.
No, that's what I wanted to ask you. You're like,
I put out my book. I put out my autobiography,
right.
The Joke Man, Bow to Stern, and of course there's things in there I'm sure he would rather not have be in there. But all it is about what I wrote and what I did and what I asked for. There's no need to bash anybody. There's things he does that I don't like and did that I don't like, but there's not many people I know that haven't done things I don't like.
And you hold no grudges. You hold no ill will. It sounds like you're kind of like have this inner peace when you talk about the Stern show.
Listen, I ask for, like, the only thing I don't like is people think that I went afoul and I was unappreciative. Like, I asked for more money and they said no. I'm reading all these old show business biographies, and Tyrone Power and James Stewart, everybody you could think of, were at war with Warner Brothers and Mayer, Louis B. Mayer, trying to get more money. You know, since the beginning of the time, the performers, the actors, the comedians have been up against a brick wall trying to get paid better. You know, you don't get paid what you're worth. You get paid what you negotiate. And if you don't ask, you don't get it.
It's sort of amazing to me because I listen to like Stuttering John's podcast, and he sort of goes the other way compared to how you talk about those days. But he kind of, it's refreshing to me in a way because listening, I figured you were each making, $30 million a piece. You, Stuttering John, I thought you were all making, crazy money. But you basically had the same.
Listen, let me tell you a story. I guess somewhere around, I made so little to start that it was a battle just to get into the ballpark. And at one point, I walked off the show, I think 4 times. And if I hadn't, my salary would have never, ever got anywhere. And people always thought I was a jerk because I walked out. I never, ever walked out. They would know I wasn't coming in on Monday. And on Monday, Robin would go, "Where's Jackie?" And I would go, "I don't know." And she'd go, "Oh, he stood you up again?" And that I didn't like because they made it look like I had just not showed up when they knew damn well that I wasn't going to be there because I didn't have my contract, which was lies. But that's the show. I mean, that's the crap that they pull. It's the old thing with the frog and the scorpion. Why'd you bite me? I'm a scorpion, you moron. What's it take? And one time I had held out, and I'd been out for a couple of weeks. And this is a long time ago, and Dominic Barber called me up. Do you know who he was?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the attorney, famous attorney, the bloated attorney.
Hey, Jackie, what are you doing? The Sancho needs you, man. I called Mel and said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Let me try and help. What can I do? What's the problem here?" And I said, "I'll tell you what the problem is, Dominic. I'm making $300,000, and I want to make $400,000. And he said, hold on. And I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I had to pull off the road." He said, "The whole world thinks you're making $1.5 million and you're asking for $2.5 million, and they think you're being greedy. They
Right.
have you off the show for $400,000." And I said, "I swear to God." And he said he absolutely could. And at this time, we were already they were printing money. I think at that time we were already in 40 markets, number one in most of them. And that was the kind of thing,
You dealt with the same like corporate stuff that we all have to deal with. I think that's what's surprising to people looking back. You had to run into and have these run-ins with these middle managers, I guess, who were just corporate.
But not really.
No,
not really.
Who was the one who was the one guy that said, "No, you're not getting more money"? Was it Howard or Tom Chiasano or
Howard?
It was all Howard.
Had to
Okay.
do was say, give him the money. You know the old story of Frank Sinatra saving Shecky Green's life. Did you ever hear that?
I'm not sure, but I'd like to.
Frank Sinatra said to the mobsters, "Okay, boys, you can stop now." That's how he saved Shecky Green's life. It's the exact same thing. That's all. But I don't harbor any ill will. They didn't want to pay me. They didn't want to pay me for whatever reason. Maybe he didn't want the guy sitting there. He got a new girlfriend and a new wife, and he doesn't want the world knowing that I'm sitting there making him funny. Who knows? There could be any amount of reasons. I'll tell you one thing. At that point in space and time, he already had so frighteningly much money that I really don't believe it could have been the money. So, but who knows? Maybe it was the precedent. Like Jackie, if we let you have another apple, then everybody's going to ask for another apple. Who knows?
I wanted to ask
but
you
all
about.
I know is I got off the show. I lost weight. I quit drinking. I got laid twice in 2013. Things are rolling.
God bless.
Things are rolling.
You're a legend. Let me ask you about the Channel 9 show. This is from fans. They submitted questions. What was the work schedule like for the Channel 9 show? 'Cause that thing was incredible. Everyone should go back and watch that.
You have no idea.
How'd you survive it? Because
nobody will ever have any idea, because for me, I mean, I look back. Eugene, I used to do more in one day than I did in the decade from 2000 to 2010. Somewhere along the line of the 15 years of the Stern Show, I put out 6 completely different 80-minute joke CDs, which meant recording a CD, losing all those jokes, getting a whole nother round of jokes in there, recording them, all the while headlining. And I couldn't go up and just get away with it. I had to kill every night. And that was in between the acts. Now, the Channel 9 show had us so crazy that after the first season, all of us were kind of up in the air, like we weren't sure whether we wanted to get renewed or not, because it killed us. It doubled our salaries. But at the time, I was hosting the Rascals Comedy Hour. So every Thursday night, I had to have a completely different 7-minute monologue, which meant 7 minutes of joke after joke after joke after joke, different every week, which is a handful, even though they're old jokes and I know them, just to line them up and fire them away. But we would be doing between 4 and 5 hours of radio every day, starting at 6 o'clock. On Monday, we would have a blank sheet of paper, and on Friday night, we had to have an hour television show in the can, ready for them to edit it, finally edit it on Saturday. So we'd start on Monday, we'd pitch ideas, figure out what we wanted to do, what guests are available. We get this guest, that guest. On Wednesday, the guests would say to the publicist or their manager, "You booked me on what show? I'm not doing that show." And then we'd have to, completely, nobody remembers. In 1990 or 1991, whatever it was, that it was still, people were scared to death to come on the show, and they didn't want to be affiliated. It's hard to believe they didn't want to come on the Stern Show now. I'm sure a lot of them are still kicking themselves. But we'd have a blank piece of paper, and somehow we would wind up Friday night, done with the show, and I swear to you, I used to pull up to the toll booth at the George Washington Bridge and look at the guy and say, "I need you to French kiss me. We got through another friggin' week. I have no idea." We'd get done with the show, and I'd sit out and drink a six-pack and smoke a couple joints with Ralph. And we'd both sit there and bitch and moan about Howard. And then Ralph became Howard's best friend. And, of course, he told Howard all the crap I said about him, but never threw in the stuff that Ralph said about him. I mean, harmless stuff, just bitching and moaning,
When you look
but
back...
it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Is that your favorite era of when you were there? Like, if you look back at your tenure, is that what you look on most fondly?
No, well, it was no, because later, as it got later in the 90s, all of a sudden we're, not just Howard, but we're all flying first class, and we're staying at the Four Seasons Hotel, and we're rubbing noses with everybody, and we made the movie. And I was going all over. Nobody else would leave the New York. I was the only one I was like the ambassador. So I'd go headline in Detroit or Phoenix or Chicago and make a lot of money, Las Vegas. And the people loved me. And, I was like, the only reason I was a superstar was because nobody else would go. Howard wasn't going. Robin wasn't going. Fred, Gary, they weren't going. So I was the thing that they could actually reach out and touch and, take to a club and take to a restaurant and take to a car wash, and I'd sign autographs and go to the station, and they were thrilled, because it was a hands-on thing. The Channel 9 thing, though, was really the blossoming. If you ever saw the movie My Favorite Year, that's exactly what we lived.
Oh, sure, Peter O'Toole, right? Yeah, that was...
the absolute scramble. Like, me and Fred were that kid, that intern. It was... Well, we were actually the writers, and but it was like the intern and the writer's point of view, and it was, we couldn't believe the crap that we got away with.
It's amazing to look back. I mean, it would be everyday page one headlines of protests and all that stuff if that show was somehow to make it on the air today. But very funny.
So much fun.
How about
so much fun? I mean, Joe Walsh came on and played Desperado on a little tiny 12-inch Farfisa organ. I think Don Henley didn't speak to him for 2 years. I mean...
So if you did Desperado for us now, would it make Don Henley mad?
Yeah.
It would?
Would he reassess again?
Would you do it for us now?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you would? You don't care?
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses?
I mean, I don't remember what I wrote and what Fred wrote, but between the two of us, we were like the Lennon and McCartney of the show, and we just did all we could to outdo each other, and it was just a free-for-all.
You ever talk to Fred or through email or anything like that? Because you guys were special.
You know, I saw him, you know, I always say it was a year ago, but it could have been 4 years ago. You know, we went to lunch at some point. I went to lunch with Robin a couple of years ago, you know, but this the last couple of years, Howard didn't even, you know, we didn't even exchange emails on our birthday. You know, he probably didn't like my book, but my book was like, everybody for the most part was so harmless. I got a lot of hate mail from people saying, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you bash anybody? I'm like, you know, I wanted my autobiography to be fun and funny and be interesting. I wasn't looking to make anybody look like an idiot, you know.
To settle a score.
You know, the thing,
like
my complaints about the show are so petty. You know, I mean, they're major things to me, but anybody else reading it would be like, you know, shut up and sit down, because you know, anybody else, the fans would have sat there for free. Like, what an honor to sit there and be part of that show. It's like, no, I'm working my ass off, man. I got up at 4:20 every day, and I was contributing big time. You know, yes, did I love being there? I loved every second of it, but it wasn't an honor to be there. It was a great job is what it was, you know?
Who do you think was the most maybe underrated or unnoticed staffer or contributor from your time on the show?
From the beginning of the show in 1977 to the current day, there is nobody in the league. There is nobody in the league of Fred Norris. Nobody has any idea what he has done, what he does, how important he is, how hard he works, how brilliant, funny. He is so unsung, and he got mad at me for leaving the show. Like Jackie, why don't you just shut up and take what they're giving you? I'm like, you know, I mean, he didn't say that in so many words, but you know, Fred's been there with Howard since before, like a year before Robin, and I don't think in all those decades, I'm not sure that Fred has ever said the words, "I want more." You know, and he's there doing the whole thing, creating everything for Howard. And all of a sudden I'm on the job and I'm like, why aren't we getting credit? You know, Fred's writing parodies and Howard's going, Robin, here's a song parody I wrote. And I'm like, how does this work? And then all of a sudden it became, well, Robin, me and the boys wrote a song parody. And eventually, hey, Jackie and Fred came up with a song parody. You know, because he never, would never ask for anything, and he's just such a good guy and such a good soldier. He would take a bullet for Howard, and he really appreciates where he is and what he does. But he was, you know, he worked 5 times harder than me. But you know, it was enough of a battle for me to fight for me, and if he didn't, he had no complaints. He was fine with where he was and what he was doing. You know,
I guess like listening to that.
True.
My next question, and I don't mean to rehash, but so you think maybe that's what bothered Howard, the fact that you started to ask for some credit for your contribution to the show? Because I mean, it's amazing to me. Nobody knew you were passing notes.
When they started the Channel 9 show, they, you know, we all had to sign on and blah blah blah, and they and I was writing things for Howard to say on the fly, just like on the radio show. It was going to be set up just like that. And they said, what credits you want? And I said, well, I don't know if I was speaking for Fred. I said, I want to be credited as a writer. And they said, well, we can't really credit you as a writer because it's not a union show or something like that. So we got to say you're a segment producer. I said, what are you talking about? I'm not a segment producer. I'm a writer. In fact, you know what? I'm the last one that knows what I'm handing Howard something. I'm the last one to have it in my hand before it goes to him. So I'm the head writer. And they're like, well, we can't have a writer because it's not a guild show. I said, well, then I'm not coming. So they had to give me, so I was on the Channel 9 show. I was head writer. And they never let me forget it. I don't know if you remember. So,
yes, I was going to ask. Yeah.
I'm head writer. And made fun of it. But it was a big goddamn deal. And because of me, I was head writer, and then the other writers on the show were Howard Stern, Fred Norris, and I always got, they made fun of the fact that I insisted on getting my credit. And before that, there was never any credits because it was a radio show.
Fred, how ridiculous is it that Jackie demands head writer billing on the show, and you're the only other writer? How ridiculous is that?
What can I say? You got it's a tribe of 2 Indians, and he's the chief.
Yeah. He's like, I mean, he showed up from nowhere, and he's like the chief.
I stake my claim.
He's head writer.
I'm Miles Standish.
It always reminded me of the old days.
It's a good thing Fred doesn't care about stuff like that.
Everything was a battle. Like normally they say you're going to be a segment producer, and Fred would have just said, "Oh, okay." And it was crazy. And then what they paid us for the Channel 9 show and for the E show is like, the Channel 9 show wasn't so bad, but the E show, what we got paid, lettuce picking wages. It was pretty spectacular.
Hey, after you left the show,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jackie.
I was in Las Vegas, headlining the top of the Riv. Thousands of people sold out. Great pay. They actually would give me the suite that was the suite that Sharon Stone and Robert De Niro had in the movie Casino. Yeah. 2 floors, grand piano, full bar, fully stocked. It was otherworldly, and it was right down the hall from the ballroom, which was the top of the Riv, where I had 1,000 people sold out, and it's the same ballroom where Sharon Stone and Robert De Niro got married in that movie. And I'd invite all my friends that were out in Las Vegas. And here we are at the party, and it's late, and everybody's gone, and I'm there with, Dennis Blair, Max Alexander, Mike Ciccone, Don McHenry, Billy West, all my friends that were either in Las Vegas or passing through or whatever. And we're standing around, and everybody's kind of left, and they go, "Martling, you really are lucky. We all know how hard you worked. But what a great thing, you're in step with the whole Stern show. And now you guys got that E television show, you must be rolling." And I said, "Rolling, really? $25,000? And they all looked at me and said, "Wait a minute. You can't tell us that you're doing so damn well that another $25,000 a week is hay to you." And I laughed. I said, "A week?" I said, "That's what I'm getting per year." And they all fell on the floor. I said, "If you stood on the corner with a shovel and they picked you up to come pick beans, you would make more that year than I was getting for being the head writer on the E television show, 6 hours, six nights a week, an hour every day."
What were they paying? What were they paying Billy West then? Was he just getting plugs?
I'm sure Billy was getting paid the same as I was getting paid. We were, I don't know what Billy was getting. I never asked anybody, but I just fought for me. By the time I left, I think I was getting $50,000 a year from the E show, which was an insult. But an extra $50,000 a year was it was found money, and it was great, but not for what we were doing.
After leaving that,
but it wasn't really extra work. They were just putting cameras on us, so it was despicable. But what the hell,
After leaving the show, did you entertain any serious offers from other radio shows like Opie and Anthony or anything like that at that?
You know what? I don't know whether Howard poisoned people's minds. And I don't begrudge it because that was his job to paint whatever. All my friends couldn't believe that he had me painted as cheap and mean and angry, because my whole life I've been the nicest guy in the world and always been so nice to everybody I've ever met and been the most generous guy. And forget about when I started making money, I was stupid generous. And when they'd hear him talking about how cheap I was, I'd have a party and have 200 lobsters, and then he'd tell everybody what a cheapskate I was because I was swimming instead of being back at my house serving it. And it was just like Trump, people would buy it. Jackie's cheap. To this day, people come up to me and say, "You want me to buy you a drink? I know you won't buy me a drink. You're such a cheap bastard," So he used to tell everybody, "Jackie, you think people like you. Everybody here hates you. All the salesmen, he'd say this on the air, you're so hard to get along with. You're impossible to work with." And meanwhile, I was the glue. You know, me and Fred would be with Howard. He took me with him to Hollywood Squares. I mean, and he loved me to death, but he told everybody how impossible I was.
And
I
people
left
believed
that
it.
show. I never got an offer. I was on that show for 15 years, and all they did pay me for was to walk in and sit down with a Sharpie. You know, I didn't carry anything. I didn't stay after to record anything. All I did was come in and put my ideas down with a Sharpie, whether it was on the fly or whether we're doing it afterwards. And I had so many of the ideas and concepts, and I was getting paid well for it, but I was just getting paid for my thoughts and my concepts. And the day I quit that show, I got no offers from anybody. Nothing, not
That's
one.
incredible.
And I just never figured it out. They must have figured either I was way too expensive or way too annoying or for whatever reason. I mean, I wasn't ready to go jump into, doing radio in Podunk, Louisiana, but it was crazy. Finally, when Anthony got his show in Roslyn and started doing that podcast, they offered me to come and have my own show for a while, but it was way little money, and that wasn't the thing. It was like his manager made it like they were going to own every word I said, and I knew I was in the throes of doing my autobiography, and the last thing I wanted to do was type out a story and then have them say, no, you said that on our air. We own that now. So I kind of begged off that. But
gotcha. I didn't realize that, though.
Crazy.
So they had offered you a spot on Compound Media, Anthony Cumia's.
I was out in Roslyn.
Okay.
It's actually on YouTube somewhere. The hour I did, and
no, I watched that. Yeah, that was incredible, and that was like the first time. It was you and Stuttering John came on, right? And Stuttering John was pounding.
That was much later.
Okay.
Me and John did one together, and I did a couple by myself with me and Anthony, and one with me and John and Anthony. But I'm talking about one with me just sitting there with the Joke Land logo behind me, taking a phone call, telling a story. And I'll send you the link. It was, I looked decent, it sounded decent, and they loved the demo. And they said, man, we want you to do this every week. And it was like, it just didn't feel comfortable. I didn't like, and I don't want to talk of the dead because the guy died, his agent. But they sent me like a, 200-page, not 200 page, a 20-page contract. And I said, what? I'm not going to hire a lawyer and look through this. I've been through this. I don't want to do that. And now I've been on Compound a bunch of times, with Anthony and with Pat Dixon. I was on with him when he was with Artie, and on with him. Now he's with this new guy, Dave. And I love doing that show, and it's so much fun. But we're so diametrically opposed because they're all about Trump, and I'm all hate Trump. Not that we talk about it, but that's their thrust. So they're not breaking down the balls to get me there. But
let me ask you,
Artie. Show a bunch of time and Artie's podcast, and it was, we always had so much fun because there's so much respect between us.
I just called you Artie by accident. I apologize. I don't know if you caught that, but I wanted to ask you a question about politics. This is my theory: is that I loved O&A, and then Anthony, for my taste, just went so political, as did Stern at one point, the other way. And that just turns me off. Are you the same way?
I've never listened to any of the shows. I just go in and do the shows. I go on Mark Simone, who's so far up Trump's ass, and I do Bernie and Sid. On Fridays on WABC radio. They took Imus's old spot. But I predate. I know these guys. I know Sid for 25 years. I knew Bernie for 40 years. I know Mark Simone for 40 years. So we go back so far. It's way before anybody got involved in this stuff at all. I'm not politically at all. I never go on the radio and start screaming anti-Trump stuff. I'm just not involved.
Yeah.
And so we just don't go there. Whether Howard went one way or the other, I have no idea. I've never listened. I don't really care. I did Opie's show a couple of weeks ago or maybe it was a month ago with Stuttering John, and that was great fun. But I don't spout any of that. Because there's nothing we can do. And everybody gets enough.
Yeah, I want to escape from that. I want to just laugh.
Political. Our job is to laugh.
Are you still tight with Stuttering John? And how is he doing?
He's doing great. You know, me and him, we did a great thing. In fact, I'm going to see the producer tonight. Me and John and Billy West. It is a weird story. There's a guy that is a huge, huge fan. And he called me about 5 years ago and said, Jackie, I do this great party in L.A. You know, I'm a wealthy guy. I've made a lot of money, and I got a nice place in Hidden Hills. And every year I have my friends from my childhood, from college, from high school, from work, from my jobs. You know, about 50 guys, no wives. My wife goes away for the weekend. We got a pool. We got some topless girls running around. You know, we play poker. I get a great band. Everybody drinks. Everybody gets stoned. All you'd have to do is a few minutes of jokes and just basically hang with my friends. I'm like, well, I'm in. By some crazy coincidence, the guy got in a car accident years and years ago, and Billy West was the witness. Now, you can't, I couldn't make that up,
laugh.
Okay? So Billy's the guy's friend. So not only do I get paid a lot of money, and I come out and they put me up, but I get to hang with Billy for a whole day and reminisce. So, and then I asked the guy, can I bring my girl? So nowadays when I come out, I bring my girl. We stay right where I am now at the Standard Hollywood, and he picks up all the expenses, and all I got to do is go be at his party. And last year he got me an extra gig at the Beverly Hills Country Club, and you know, so I made double the money. He's just the nicest guy in the world. I don't want to say his name, but this last summer he said, what are we going to do? I want to make it different. You think we can get Stuttering John? And I said, listen, I'll give you his number. You can make him an offer. I'm not picking him up. I'm not responsible. I love the guy, but
why aren't you picking him up?
Well, because he lives out here.
Oh, gotcha.
So, you know, in other words, don't send an Uber to pick up me and then pick up him, because he'll come running out in his underwear carrying his clothes. So he gets Stuttering John, you know, and he called me up and he said, you know, John already asked me for an advance. And I said, well, what did you expect? So me and John and Billy are there this summer. And we're sitting there and we just start talking because we're old pals. And, you know, we're from the best. When that show was at its red hottest, the three of us were, you know, the fulcrum. So we're just yakking. We look. There's like 20 guys standing around us, hanging on every word. The topless girls are walking around. They don't know what to do. Nobody's paying attention to them. And I turned to the guy with John and I said, we should have cameras on this. Look at everybody's fascinated by this, and all we're doing is talking. So we came back out a couple months ago, and me and Billy and John sat on a set with a bunch of 4K cameras on us, and we talked for 3 hours. And the footage is just spectacular. And the guy's got it put together. He's going to release it, but he doesn't know how yet. Whether he's going to release it in segments or Netflix or Amazon or do it himself, he doesn't know. But it's just cherry, and it's just us talking about that crap. But people are still fascinated. And the more time that goes by, and the more I guess the people that don't like the show anymore, the people that really, really were into it when we were all killing. You know, the people now say, oh, Jackie, who needs Jackie? Who needs Billy? You know, the show sucked when they were on. And you know, I watch these people. I don't go on these sites, but people wind up on my Twitter because they put my name in at Jackie Martling there. And it's interesting, you know, but that's going to be really, really fun. And
so there's 3 hours of footage
here and there, you know. Yeah,
so there's 3 hours of footage out there. Is it going to be released like a series, you think? Or that's still up in the air?
No, he doesn't know yet. He doesn't know yet.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's really fun.
Because
but there's nothing fancy. It's not topless girls and then not jokes. It's just us, you know, goofing on each other and the whole it's just terrific.
But so many people want that. Like, I would listen to that. And that's like brings me to my last question.
That's what the guy thinks. But the truth is, who knows? You know, people get everything for free. Who knows if somebody would look at that? Who knows if somebody paid 99 cents? Who knows if they'd pay $14.99? It's such an unknown. I remember when I had my website, I had, you know, zillions of people coming to jokeland.com, and you do the math of, wow, if 0.11% of these people buy something, I'm going to be rich. And then you find out the 0.11% doesn't buy anything. The minute you say go for your wallet, they can't change websites quick enough.
You're talking to a guy who runs a nonprofit news site, and that's exactly why. I'm like,
because it's nonprofit. It's not that you necessarily intended it to be.
I wish I could make more money, but that would be awesome. My last question, Jack, is
Before you say anything, I want to tell your audience, if they by any chance are still listening, I answer my email, jokland at AOL.com, JOKELAND at AOL.com. I get so many emails. Somebody, I just read your book. I read it for the third time. I can't believe how much I love it, and I'm calling you on your bluff because you said in your book that you answered my emails. And then I answer their emails, and I send them chapters that never made it into the book, and they flip out. They're like, not only did you answer, but you sent me some great Rodney Dangerfield chapters, and it just freaks them out. But I really appreciate when somebody gets my book. So,
it is a great book. I can personally attest to that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I love it when somebody says, listen, I knew this book came out, and I knew I eventually get it, and now I'm sorry I didn't get it right away. And, left hand, like Jackie, who knew you were smart? Who knew you could put a sentence together? All kinds of left-handed. But you know what? I'll take it. I don't care.
I always wonder.
You as always.
No. It's fine. I always wonder. There's conventions for everything. There's comic book conventions, horror movie conventions, and these things, they're packed. They fill the Javits Center now. Why isn't there, or will there ever be, a Stern Show convention? There's so many.
Because Howard has no interest. He's so rich, and as far as he's concerned, it's his show, and he did it. He always thought that he could have done the show in an elevator with nobody else in the room, that there was never, the fact that there was other people circling around. So many people say, it was a group show. It was a gang. It was like Cheers. It was like, I always said, the Beatles of radio, which it was. Yeah. But he always thought that everybody else was besides the point. And, to have a convention where everybody would be celebrated, it's you would not believe the memorabilia I got. You
got all your jokes, right?
I have the scripts from all the bits that we did. And I have the notes that I got signed by celebrities. I got 150 notes that would blow your mind because it's signed by Geraldo and Al Michaels and Tiny Tim and Adam West and Barbara Streisand's sister and Kenneth Keith Kallenbach and John Wayne Bobbitt. It's Vanilla Ice. It's all notes that I wrote about these people, and then they signed them. John Phillips from the Mamas and Papas. And, it's just such an eclectic group that you almost can't believe it, and it's such a fun. And if I just put them up on the wall and let people walk around, just the flood of memories makes people crazy. And I'm kind of on the verge of doing that, but I don't think there'll ever be a full-scale convention.
Even outside of Stern somehow, because I just think you brought up that 3-hour discussion, and you go to these conventions, and you could do so many different panels where people would just listen to you and autographs and all.
My girlfriend's like, Jackie, leave that in the dust. And she's kind of right. I got people coming out to my shows now that just love the Alexa and Spotify and Pandora. And then they find out I was also the guy on the Stern Show. It's not an ego thing. It's just like, when people say, hey, you're still sucking off Howard's bones, it's like, but you're not really. If it's 15 years of your life, are you really going to fault Mickey Mantle for saying I used to be a New York Yankee?
Right.
Yeah,
if people are still coming to your show, there's obviously something. Yeah, you bring something to the table, obviously.
But they do have a point also. So who knows?
What are you doing in California anyway? Because I don't even know if I said that at the beginning of this. You're in California right now, or you said it.
There's a guy who's a lawyer that made a real lot of money, and he said, you know what? I'm going to do the show business I want to do. He's kind of been doing it on the side forever, so he's doing a show where he does these different characters, and he called and said, listen, would you ever consider being part of a show if I came out to New York and paid you good? But I said, sure. And then he called up and said, listen, it'd be so much easier for me if you came to California. I said, well, you got to pay for every single thing, so it doesn't cost me anything, and it's no hassle because I'm an old guy. But if you meet my demands are small. I'm JetBlue. I'm not first class American Airlines. I'm not Four Seasons. I'm hotel standard. But he did it all. So today, that's why I had to get this out of the way, because he's picking me up.
Yeah.
I'm going to go do, a bunch like interviews and characters, and maybe walk around letting people try and stump me with a joke. And, just real amenable to it. And they picked me up at the airport, and these guys are over the moon. But I will beg your audience, say, Alexa, play Jackie Martling, but don't do it with kids in the room.
No, yeah,
and
that's
put me in Spotify and put me in Pandora. If you email me, jokeland@AOL.com, you get jokes every month, which people still absolutely love. And I tweet jokes every day at 4:20 p.m. International Marijuana Time, and my tweet is at Jackie Martling, which is very simple. And I just been doing this. You know what's still going? I don't know if you remember from the Stern Show.
Yes,
but
I do.
516-922-WINE is still going strong. People can't believe it. People say, hey, I used to call you a joke line 20 years ago. I say, well, it's still going. And nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, so they pull it out and they dial 516-922-9463. Hey, this is Jackie the Joke Man. Thanks for using your finger and calling 516-922-WINE, and their jaws drop. Because it's like a throwback to 30 years. Rick Dees out here in California used to tell his huge national radio audience that was Tom Selleck's home phone number. and it went through the roof, So that's been around, we're talking about 1982. Jesus Christmas, that's 40 years ago. That's fun. That's fun.
And you'll be in Seymour, Connecticut this Saturday, right here in the Naugatuck Valley at the Strand Theater, Treehouse Comedy
And I
Productions.
tell people, you do not have to buy anything. You want to come to the show, if you want an autograph, you want to ask questions, you want to take a picture, you don't have to buy any of my crap to do that. But I'm selling my autobiography and my 6 great CDs and my 2 joke books and my kids' CDs, which are selling better than anything, which are so fun. I got a thing called Gross Jokes, and there's no curses and there's no sex, but it's poop and farts and vomit, and the kids go berserk. It's my voice sped up like a midget with me laughing, and the kids it's selling through the roof, which is just, that would be the thing that I'd retire on, is a kid's CD after 40 years of being so horribly, horribly foul.
All right, Jackie. Hey, thank you so much for taking your time. I mean, I truly appreciate it. And this has been a pleasure for me. The fact we've talked for an hour. I figured I had 10 minutes at the beginning there. I was trying to interrupt you to throw in my questions. I was like, he's going to talk and then just hang up. But man, you were the best.
The thing is, I didn't know how much time I'd had, because these guys flew me out, and I said, listen, from the time I land, I'm yours to do with whatever. So I told Brad I didn't know what the deal was. So it's my pleasure. Make sure you email me a street address so I can send you some stuff. And I appreciate the ink, and anything I can do for you or you do for me, I'll always, if I'm ever in the area, I'll always scream for some more help. So let me know.
All right, Jackie. Thank you so much for everything.
Okay, and one thing I want to say before I hang up is, Brad Axelrod, stop being so goddamn cheap.
Hey, I have a fun game to play.
What?
Fred, you play a Jackie laugh.
Okay.
And then Billy tries to do an impression of it.
Very good. Hold on.
Okay.
A laugh off.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 1. Hey.
Go.
Number 2. Number 3.
That was so funny.